8 episodes on how these machines work. Now the question that actually matters. You want one to do a real job. Answer your customers, draft in your company's voice, work with your data. You sit down to build it and face 3 doors. Write a better prompt, feed it your documents, or retrain the model itself. Choose wrong and you burn months and a fortune on a problem the cheapest door would have solved in an afternoon. This is where most projects go wrong, and today we make sure yours does not. Here's the frame that makes it simple. Imagine you just hired someone brilliant, sharp, widely read, a fast writer, and they know essentially nothing about your company. Each of those 3 doors is a different way of getting useful work out of that new hire. And once you see which is which, the choice becomes obvious. A confident new employee at an empty desk on day 1, a thought bubble reading, "I know almost everything in general and nothing about this company." Door 1, prompting. This is simply the brief you give them. Be specific about the task, the audience, the format. Say what to avoid. Best of all, show 2 or 3 examples of a great finished result, because showing beats describing. That is all a prompt is, instructions and context, and it changes nothing inside the model. It is free, instant, and you can improve it 40 times before lunch. The astonishing thing, and every experienced team will tell you this, is how often a careful brief solves the whole problem. An enormous share of failures blamed on the model are really a vague request. A clear written brief handed to the new hire, headed the task, the audience, the format, with 2 small cards beneath labeled "Example of a good answer." Door 2, retrieval, which we built in episode 5, retrieval augmented generation. Your new hire cannot know your prices, your policies, or last week's decisions, so you do not lecture them for a month. You put the right reference material on their desk the moment they need it. Turn your documents into locations on the map of meaning. Find the passages nearest the question, paste them into the prompt. This door changes what the model can see. Update a document and the answer updates today, and you get sources you can check. The new hire at their desk with an open binder labeled Company Documents beside them, an arrow from a page into their answer headed Give them the reference, not a lecture. Door 3, fine-tuning. Here you actually adjust the model's dials, continuing its training on thousands of examples of the work you want. This is the training loop from episode 2. Run again on your own data. It is the expensive door. You need a serious pile of well-made examples, real time and money, and a way to prove afterwards that you improved anything. So what do you get for that? This is where nearly everybody guesses wrong. So pause the video and commit to an answer. Your company has 400 product manuals, and they change every month. You want the assistant to answer questions about them accurately. Which door? Almost everyone says fine-tune it on the manuals. That is the most expensive mistake in applied artificial intelligence, and here is why. Fine-tuning is for form, not facts. Training shapes how a model behaves. It is a terrible way to install facts, because the model does not file them in a table you can trust. It blends them into patterns, still guessing plausible text, only now more confidently in your house style. And remember episode 2, the moment training ends, the dials freeze again. So next month, when prices change, you do the whole thing over. The correct answer is retrieval. So write this on the wall. Prompting changes what you asked for. Retrieval changes what the model sees. Fine-tuning changes how the model acts. They are not 3 competing products. They fix 3 completely different problems, and using one to solve another's job is exactly how projects fail. Which gives a simple order, and professionals genuinely follow it. Start with the prompt, always, because it costs nothing and frequently wins. If the gap is knowledge, the model not knowing your things, add retrieval. Only if a gap remains after both, and it is a gap in behavior, it will not hold a format, will not keep your tone, keeps hedging when it should be blunt, do you consider fine-tuning? Most teams who ask about fine-tuning should not be fine-tuning yet. They should fix their brief and their retrieval first.
Now, the honest part, because that order sounds like a ranking and it is not. The strongest systems use all three at once, each doing what it is actually good at.
A careful prompt sets the task. Retrieval feeds in today's truth. A light touch of fine-tuning locks in the format and voice, so output is consistent every time. Prompt for the instruction, retrieval for the knowledge, tuning for the behavior. That combination is the modern default, not a compromise. One finished system drawn as a machine with three labeled inputs feeding in together. Prompt, the instruction, retrieval, the knowledge, tuning, the behavior, producing one polished answer. And one more use of fine-tuning is quietly the most valuable. Take an enormous, expensive, brilliant model and use it to produce thousands of excellent examples of one narrow task. Then, train a small, cheap, fast model on exactly those. The little one will never match the big one in general, but on that single job, it can come remarkably close, at a fraction of the cost. That is not teaching a model new facts. That is teaching a small model one job extremely well. A huge, expensive model producing a stack of example answers that are fed into a tiny model, which then does the same one task alone, headed, Teach a Small Model One Job. So here's the big picture, and it is the most practical thing in this series. Ask first, because a better brief is free and often enough. Retrieve when the model lacks knowledge, especially knowledge that changes. Fine-tune when it lacks behavior, not when it lacks facts. And when the job is serious, use all three together, deliberately, each for its own purpose. A clean decision card. Is the brief clear? Then, does it lack knowledge? Then, does it lack behavior? With arrows to prompt, retrieve, and tune headed the whole decision. And now, look at what you know. We started with a machine that does exactly one thing, guess the next word, and we discovered that guessing well demands understanding. We watched it learn from an internet that is its own answer key. We opened the transformer and saw every word look at every other word. We found meaning stored as location on a vast map. We handed it documents it had never read. We gave it hands and tools and a universal socket to plug into the world. We watched it learn to think before speaking. And today, you learned how to actually put it to work. The black box from episode 1, now fully open with every panel removed, its inner parts labeled predict, learn, attend, meaning, retrieve, tools, connect, think, glowing, and transparent. That box you could not see into at the start of this series is not magic. It never was. It is a machine, an astonishing one, made of ideas you can now hold in your head and explain to somebody else. That was the whole point. So tell us in the comments, which of these ideas should we open up and sketch next?